Now, there's a growing list of companies pledging to repay the UK government for money claimed through the furlough scheme. After better-than-expected profits during the pandemic, the game developer Games Workshop and the political magazine The Spectator are among businesses that have announced plans to give back furlough money. Those repayments may be a drop in the ocean for the government as it faces a £20 billion bill for the furlough scheme. But it does shine the spotlight on corporate social responsibility and the ethics of profitable companies using government handouts. Well, joining me now is the chairman of The Spectator, Andrew Neil. Andrew Neil, very good to see you. How many colleagues did you have on furlough?
We had about 15 on furlough, and we had plans to have more as the year went on. But as it turned out, the year has gone better than we could ever have hoped. So we've taken everybody off furlough, and we have no plans to put anybody else back on furlough.
That doesn't mean to say, presumably, that you haven't taken a hit from COVID-19.
No, we took a hit, not as bad as I had feared. We've taken a hit like most media on advertising revenues. We've taken a hit on events, which is our second biggest money spinner, because obviously it's impossible to have events and we don't know when that will start. But about 3 years ago, we moved to become a subscription-based model. We're not dependent on advertising. We're not dependent on events. Almost 80% of our revenues now come from subscription. And the good news for us, we didn't really see it happening, but the good news has been that during the lockdown, our subscriptions soared. The target I had set for subscriptions for the end of the year, we actually passed earlier this month. And that meant that a lot more money has come in than we thought. In the end, it turned out we didn't need the money that the government had made available for furloughing. We didn't need it to survive. So it seemed to me right that since we didn't need it, we should hand it back.
So by doing so, are you hoping to make a statement to the wider corporate world?
No, not at all. Indeed, I made clear when I made the announcement of this that this was not to be an example for others. It was because we were doing this because we could afford to do it. Our finances are in much better shape than we could ever have hoped only 3 or 4 months ago, when we thought we were going to really take a hit on all fronts. The Economist magazine, I see, has issued its first ever profits warning. We won't be doing that. Indeed, our profits are going to be, I hope, pretty much in line with what they were last year, which in the circumstances is an amazing result. It was great that the government could make the money available. It was a comfort and insurance that we could have it so that we didn't have to make people redundant or see the company move into loss. As it turned out, it wasn't necessary. So let's give the money back to the government. It's not going to solve the size of the budget deficit. But as I'm told, every little bit counts.
It's a very good point you make. But, I mean, there is this debate, as you will be aware, that companies that have taken money via the furlough scheme ought to be trying to repay some of that before making distributions to shareholders. Do you think there's a case for that?
Well, I think there's a case for companies that ended up in our position, that didn't turn out in lockdown to be as bad as they thought. If they don't need the money to survive, then they should perhaps think of sending it back. But it's not my job to lecture other companies on how to run their business. It's a full-time job just running my business and trying to get that right. We ended up in a fortunate position. Other companies have taken a much bigger hit. The airlines, classic example of that. Other companies, if they hadn't had the furlough money, could well have gone bust, probably still need that furlough money to stay in business. So they have to make their own case. But where a company has survived, where a company is still in profitability, done better than they thought, then why not give the money back? It's taxpayers' money. It's taxpayers' money that had a purpose, and the government now needs that taxpayers' money, perhaps for a better purpose.
And briefly, Andrew, if you'd be so kind, in terms of your business model right now, are you pretty agnostic whether you get subscriptions for print or digital? Do you care particularly?
Not really, but we'll take them from both, and we don't discriminate in terms of price. Our biggest subscription model is the bundle. I think when you're a high-quality magazine, people want digital for immediacy, but they also want print because they like that magazine to be seen lying around as well. And almost 80% of our subscriptions are people taking the bundle. And we're heading, and that we get more money that way, so we like that. We're heading towards 100,000 subs. It's a good model, and it's turned out that it survived lockdown. You know, when I launched Sky Television all the years ago, we made that a subscription model. That seems to have done pretty well. The Spectator is now catching up with Sky. Subscription models are doing us proud as well.
Good to hear it. Andrew Neil, lovely to see you. Thanks for joining me.
You too. Thank you, Ian.